Like many other children, in my childhood and youth, I collected postage stamps, plate blocks of 4, miniature sheets, special cancellations, and various first day covers. I wouldn't say I was very serious and consistent about picking specific stamps. I was interested in such topics as nature, especially animals and birds, arts, cars, history, and whatever I liked. A lot of water passed under the bridges since then. One day, looking through the bookshelves in my parents' apartment, I ran across the long-forgotten stock books and boxes and started exploring them both with awe and amusement. At some stage of my examination, I was surprised to find the first Soviet stamps from the so-called standard issues that I had never seen before. I may also assume that actually I had seen those stamps, but had paid no attention to them at the time. Anyway, they contained beautiful and energetic images I had never noticed in the 20th century. The proud, internally free and simultaneously dedicated to the new utopia, committed and courageous builders of a new life in the land of the Bolsheviks, they looked at me, a resident of the vast and goofy country under the leadership of Emperor Putin, with bravery and dignity. Over time, while looking curiously through a magnifying glass at these tiny propaganda pieces of the past, I got interested in the context of the revolutionary period when those images appeared, and gradually arrived at the issues of the revolutionary art. I scrutinized the artworks produced at that time and then looked at the stamps I had in my collection from another angle. The white backgrounds and vague attributes of heroic labor surrounding the main characters now looked shallow, boring, and meaningless. In no way did they reflect the revolutionary processes that seethed and bubbled in the camp of poets and artists in Soviet Russia and in neighboring Europe. Having pondered on that, I decided to produce my own standard issues based on original stamps, but fortified with works of art by famous artists of the time. Kandinsky, Malevich, Mondrian, Klee, Lisitsky, Matushin, Delaunay, and other avant-garde artists fit in perfectly well. By underpinning the heroic images of the first 5-year plans with the classic works of the avant-garde, I hope to beef up the revolutionary impact of the original mini-posters, which in this case were mere postal signs sent out to all corners of the Russian land and abroad to strengthen their energy and make my contemporaries feel the true pathos of the distant revolutionary transformations. Making my way through the decades, I suddenly noticed that the more recent images of the brave new Soviet people, explicitly created as prototypes for copying and cloning in other ideologically oriented works, could hardly fit into the earlier frames of radical modernism and avant-garde. They emanated a completely different spirit, the flavor of ideological stagnation and smooth Philistinism. Pondering this fact, I resumed studying the history of 20th century art and eventually reached the postmodernist period. Soon, Gilbert and George, Hirst, Rosenquist, and the like became the saviors of the standard issue of the 50s. Their works proved to be quite appropriate for revitalizing the dull faces of Khrushchev's builders of communism. Funny, I thought. Looks like Soviet artists were ahead of the West in their mannerism, so postmodernism may have begun in the USSR already in the 50s. Even in this field, we're again ahead of the others in the world. Thus, a rather big series of my own stamps entitled The Revolution of the Image was born. However, I didn't stop there and eventually began to transfer the gorgeous images onto canvas, while being sincerely sure that by clearing them of unnecessary postage attributes and drawing the missing parts, I introduced them into the realm of pure art and made those characters immortal.